Hello. Welcome to the second week of This Week in Politics. This program uh, has the purpose of just talking about the major events that have happened in U.S. politics. As I said in the first show, I'm kind of a political junkie, so this kind of uh, thing is right up my alley. I do a couple other programs on the internet. And the problem with those is I am constrained by time and by subject matter. And by doing this program, there will be no time limit, no subject limit. I'll just be able to talk about the issues as much as they need to be talked about. And so I'm really excited about this, and I hope you enjoy it. So the title of this one is August 13th, 2017, and we're going to talk about what has happened in the last week in politics in the United States. And it's been another eventful week. I must say, with Trump in office, there's never a boring day. So the first issue I want to talk about is North Korea. Now, North Korea has a little sawed-off little punk as a dictator, Kim Jong-un, and he lives under the impression that he is like a god. And believe it or not, in that country, his people believe that he is God. Unfortunately, he does not. I think he's begun to believe his own press. He doesn't understand that the United States will crush him like a cockroach. So he has made some bellicose threats. They have come up with an ICBM, and they do have nuclear capability. So he thinks that he's going to attack and destroy the United States, what he has in his arsenal. We know that he has a limited number of ICBMs and a limited number of nuclear warheads. Even if he gets them off, chances are we're going to destroy at least 50% of them. The ones that get through will hurt, but we will destroy him and level his country to pineapple fields. So I really don't know what this guy's thinking, but that's the situation that we are. Now, a couple of things that have been going on is this. Trump has been talking tough to this guy through the press, and I'm assuming privately. And he's been taking a lot of guff for that. And here's what I have to say to that. It's about damn time. I am so tired. I mean, for the last 25 years, I am so tired of our leaders giving this guy an undue amount of respect by mollycoddling him, giving him food and everything else in exchange for his supposed backing off of nuclear arms, when all he does is double down. I've known that for 20 years. Leaders either didn't know or didn't have the cojones to call him out. Trump has the cojones. He's called him out. And now this guy has threatened to, this week, I think, fire off 4 missiles towards Guam, to which Trump has said, don't be stupid. It amazes me that this little sawed-off little runt thinks that the North Korean arsenal is going to take on the United States. Now, I really don't know what their issue is with the United States unless they haven't gotten over the Korean conflict. And if they haven't, that seems to be on them. The rest of the world has gotten over it. One thing I have learned in history is that in order for a dictator to survive, there has to be an us against them. And if the United States wasn't the them, there'd be somebody else that would be. So whatever, but he needs to be very, very careful, because if he does the wrong thing at the wrong time, Trump will blow that whole country off of the face of the planet. That will happen. And I have no question at all about that. And I know that some people have an issue with that, but you know what I say? Good. The world needs less of those little kind of punks. Now, we have to think about, because we have to protect South Korea, Japan, Guam, Taiwan. These are the allies that we agreed to protect at the end of World War II. We let China and Russia take care of North Korea. Now, it's already amazing to me that China came out this week and said, if you fire first on North Korea, then we will jump into the fray. If North Korea fires first, we'll stand down and you can do whatever it is you want to do. That's huge. That's telling Kim Jong-un that he cannot rely on China to back him up. If he fires those missiles, he's done. And I hope he understands that. So the biggest problem that we're going to have is protecting our allies, because if he shoots off, let's say he shoots off 20 missiles, and we get half of them, that's 10. That means 10 are still going to land somewhere. And half of those probably are not going to reach their target. That leaves 5. And out of those 5, he's probably going to hit short term. So that means South Korea and Japan. So what do? How do we protect our allies so that they don't get hurt? I don't think there's a way that, since it's gone this far, and the past presidents have allowed it to go this far, and make no mistake, it is the problem of past presidents. Clinton gave them nuclear technology. No question at all about that. And Obama allowed them to go forward for 8 years. No question at all about that. In fact, we paid them to do that. No question. So what do? Well, I think there's a couple of things we could do. First off, we need to increase our defensive mechanisms in those countries by putting anti-ballistic missile silos in those countries, which we have done. We put 3 sets in South Korea along the demilitarized zone. I think that was right. We should probably put them in Japan. I don't know if they have or not. And I think that we should probably put anti-ballistic ships along the coast of Guam to give us a good opportunity to shoot those out of the air. Now, the bad news about doing that is that if there's nuclear material on them, they will come down on the people. That's better than having it explode and kill hundreds of thousands of people. One thing I do not want to have happen with this is that we sit down and negotiate. I am so sick and tired of the negotiation ploy. We'll talk about it, we'll hug about it, we'll love about it, we'll write contracts about it, and 25 years later, we'll have nuclear war. That's what Clinton and Bush and Obama have done. They kicked the can down the road until now. Here we are with Trump. Now, Korea has nuclear capabilities. They have ICBMs. They are on the verge of being able to hit the United States at will. They haven't got there yet, but they're very, very close. They can hit, probably, with a little bit of luck, they could hit Japan and Alaska. That's way too close. And that is to lay at the footsteps of Obama, Bush, and Clinton. That's their legacy, and I hope they appreciate that. Now it's up to Clinton or Trump to go in there and clean this mess up. Now, how he cleans it up remains to be seen. Can he do it diplomatically, or is he going to have to go in there and blow him off the face of the planet? I frankly don't care, as long as it gets done. So that's the first issue that has been in this week's news. The second issue was the president bashes Mitch McConnell. And you know what? I heard a lot of people talk this week about, we're on the same team, and how do you beat up the guy that's on your team, and you're going to need Mitch down the road. But here's what I've decided about Trump. Trump is used to being the boss. When your VP of operations screws up, you call him out and you say, hey, you screwed up. Let's not screw up again. Let's do better next time. And I think that's all that Trump's doing here. Just like he did with Sessions, and Sessions responded. And that's what he's doing to Mitch McConnell. He's saying, hey, you screwed up with Obamacare. You didn't get it done. You had 7 years and you couldn't get it done. I'd be upset too, frankly. I'm not going to do anything drastic. All I'm saying is you screwed up. Let's not have this happen again. If it happens again, I'm going to have to get serious. And I'll have to go to Kentucky, and I'll have to bring the public opinion against you. But for right now, all I'm doing is calling you out and saying, you screwed up, let's not do this again. The press is saying there's no I in team. And that's true, but there is me in team. Now, is the president right or wrong? I don't know. I'm not a multi-billionaire. $1 billion out of $1 million. I don't run one of the world's largest private fortunes. But I know this. Trump's been in office 6 months, and he took Jeff Sessions from an absolute do-nothing attorney general to now all of a sudden he has turned the fire on when Trump did the same thing to him. I think it might work. Now, another issue that's been going on this week is it's about McMaster's. Now, McMaster's has been the head of the Justice Department. And there has been an ongoing issue since he stepped into office between him and Bannon. Now, Bannon is the bastion, if you will, of the right wing. He was the head of Breitbart, and he was the guiding light that kept Trump online with the right wing throughout the election and through the first 6 months of his presidency, to keep him online, to let him know and remind him what the conservative movement was all about. Now, Trump has hired McMaster's, and McMaster's, since he's been in there, has been against every single thing that Trump has done. In fact, he's gone through the department and has eliminated all of those that are pro-Trump. So what does that mean? Now, as an ideologue and as a right-winger, if I see somebody coming in and getting rid of all the right-wingers and going against everything my boss says, red flags are going to go up and say, hey, this guy is not towing the line for the right wing. He is an establishment sewer rat. So what do we do? Well, As we know, this week there has been an ongoing feud between Bannon and McMaster's. Now, the last time there was a fight between Bannon and one of the staff, the other part of the staff lost, and it was the chief of staff, which was good at the time because it says that Trump is still paying attention to the right wing. We still have a seat at the table, and he's getting rid of the establishment swamp rats. Is that going to happen again? Now, I don't want to endorse infighting, and I do not want to endorse Bannon picking a fight. But on the other hand, I do not want the swamp rats to win the battle. And if we have to fire 25 swamp rats to get one good guy in there, then that's what we need to do. And I think getting rid of Reince Priebus was awesome. He was a swamp rat. And frankly, I think Jeff Sessions is a swamp rat, and he's got to go eventually. Right now, he's doing a lot of good for Trump. But eventually, he's going to have to go because he's a swamp rat. And McMaster's is a swamp rat, and he's going to have to go. Now, how that happens, who's going to do it, what's going to be the final straw, I don't know. I don't know. But McMaster's is going to have to go. You cannot have somebody in your administration as president who is against your agenda. If Trump wants to get out of Afghanistan and somebody in your administration wants to increase Afghanistan, if you want to cut budget and he wants to increase budget, you cannot have that over and over and over. It's okay to have dissenting agreements once in a while from different people, but to have one person constantly disagree with every one of your positions, you may as well have Obama sitting there at the table. He's got to go. Now, the other interesting thing that happened this week is Mueller, who is a special prosecutor. I'm sorry, I just can't say that with a straight face. He's a political hack appointed by a political hack who has the unmitigated authority and the job title to go after Trump. That's what he really is. He's no special prosecutor. He's a witch hunter. But anyway, he interviewed Paul Manafort. Now, this guy used to be the campaign manager under Trump, and Trump fired him. So he has been interviewed by the special prosecutor, and he has been cooperating. In the midst of his testimony and his cooperation, Mueller gets a warrant and takes the SWAT team in a pre-dawn raid without knocking on the door, busted in his front door, and raided his house. Are you kidding me with this? This Mueller's acting like a Nazi SS guy. Now, who knows what he got? Who knows what he's after? The whole point of Mueller is to get Trump. I mean, that's the goal. So he's going through all of these people. Now, if he finds something on Manafort, which he probably will, he's going to give Manafort, the ultimate goal is going to be, do what I tell you to do or you're going to jail. And that's what he's in the process of doing. Now, it's my understanding that Paul Manafort has done some shady things in his life, and that's why Mueller's going after him first. If he convinces him to lie under oath, to stay out of prison, this could get very serious for Trump. But we need to understand, we as Americans, and hopefully the senators and representatives in the U.S. Congress, recognize a scam when we see one. Now, Mueller invaded his house on 7/26. And here's the funny part. He leaked it to the press a month later, well, almost a month later, on August 9th. That's illegal. Yet the leak came from Mueller's office. We know this. Who else would know about the warrant? Who else would know the time? Who else would know the place? And who else would know how it was carried out than his office? And it was leaked on August 9th. We need a special prosecutor to go after and watch over the special prosecutor. Isn't this silly? I mean, frankly, Mueller's job was created over false evidence by lying to the Senate by Comey, by presenting false evidence by Comey, and by leaking confidential information by Comey to the press. And somehow this guy is supposed to hold sway? Are you kidding me with this? Somebody needs to step in and say, this is enough. This whole special prosecutor and Mueller and his office and his staff, they all need to go away. And you left-wing Democrats who didn't get the Hillary in there need to just get the heck over it and let's move on unified with this country instead of trying to tear Trump down. Now, another thing that happened this week, and I thought this was awesome. A Taiwanese company known as Foxconn Technology is going to build a factory in Wisconsin. And I want to read you this. It says, Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker defended a $3 billion tax incentive package to lure Taiwan's Foxconn Technology Group to the state amid a growing chorus of concerns about the hefty bill to taxpayers. Okay. The mere way that that verbiage was arranged in that first paragraph makes it sound like he did a terrible thing. But I want you to think about this. When that company builds in Wisconsin, $3 billion will be nothing. That company is going to create 3,000 jobs with a maximum of 5,000, but let's say 3,000. So 3,000 jobs, and let's say $60,000 a year. That's $18 billion a year just in payroll. And out of that money, 30%. You do the math. And that's year after year after year. That $3 billion tax incentive is over a 10-year project. I just did a show about capitalism versus socialism. This is what the socialists don't ever get. If you have an incentive to make money, you're going to make as much money as you can. And the more money you make, the more taxes you pay, even if the tax bill is lower. If you lower the tax bill by 10%, but you double the salary that you're making, the income to the state doubles. Liberals don't understand that. That's what's going on here. Walker is exactly right. Now, you can look over his administration, and every time he does something, it is right down the line. This is the guy I wanted to be president. Scott Walker is a true right-wing Republican. He understands capitalism. He understands conservatism, and he understands how things work. Now think about this. This company had the choice of anywhere in the U.S. to build, anywhere in the world to build. Why did they go to Wisconsin for $3 billion? Now, that sounds like a lot of money to me and you, okay? And it is. $3 billion is a lot, but $3 billion in the eyes of the likes of Toyota or Ford or General Motors, that's a year or two. They could pay that in a fine. $3 billion is not all that, but that's an incentive for them to come to that state and make money. I think this is awesome. This is going to be a great, great thing for the state of Wisconsin. And I take my hat off to Scott Walker up in Minnesota. I think it's, or Wisconsin. I think it's awesome, and I look forward to it. Now, and here it says, we believe this is a transformational, Mr. Walker said Wednesday in an interview with the Wall Street Journal. We think in terms of attracting talent across the country and around the world. Well, of course he does. What kind of governor would he be if he was not interested in trying to draw business to his country, to his state? I live in Illinois. Illinois wasn't even mentioned as a possible partner. Wasn't even mentioned. And you know what the difference between us and Wisconsin is? They got the business and we didn't. And you know why? Because we have a Republican governor in that state. And in this state, we do have a Republican governor, but we have a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, and a supermajority Democrats. They would never, ever, ever allow those type of tax benefits to any company coming in because that goes against what they believe. Therefore, we here in Illinois, because we are controlled by Democrats, have the worst economy in the state, in the United States. We have the biggest deficits of any state in the country. We are one step above junk bond status in the United States. We pay the highest interest on bonds in the United States, and all because of the liberal left-wing Democratic way of running this government. Bruce Rauner is a Republican governor and he's trying to fight it, but every time we make a little progress, the Democrats in the House and Senate screw us over. If you don't believe me, do the research. Trying to find what else I want to look at here in this pile. Now I did a show not too long ago, and I was talking about the rhinos in the House and Senate. And what I said was the Tea Party needs to concentrate their effort in the upcoming elections, and they need to start now. They need to concentrate their efforts on getting rid of the mainstream establishment Republicans. They're Republicans in name only, rhinos. You know, and the three that came out when we were trying to get rid of Obamacare was McCain, McMaster's, and the lady from Maine. I don't remember her name. But there's a bunch of them in there. The only reason they picked those is because they're not up for election this time. They're betting that by the time elections come up in 4 or 6 years, the American public will have forgotten. But I promise you this, I will not forget. And when they come up for election, I will remind you. Just like I'm going to remind you on this one. Senator Dean Heller, a Nevada Republican up for re-election in 2018, who has been whipsawed by the politics of Congress's health care debate, has drawn a conservative primary opponent, promising to be more reliably allied with President Donald Trump. Amen. Now, what are the odds of him winning? I don't know. But that's what the Tea Party needs to do. In every one of these, now I would not, as a Tea Party leader, I would not go after other Tea Party members. I wouldn't even go after all other Republican leaders. But I would spend time, effort, and money on every establishment Republican that has not been in line with conservative points of view. And as an example, there are two in Arizona. There's a Congressman Flake and Senator McCain, both from Arizona. They both need to go away. And the Tea Party needs to go spend a lot of time and money in Arizona. And we need to find good Tea Party, Republican, conservative people to run in the primary against these. Now, I know normal politics says you don't run against your own in a primary, and I get that. But that assumes that that Republican holds the same views as you. I promise you, Flake and McCain, they hold the same views as the liberal Democrats. We got the vote on getting rid of Obamacare. Flake and McCain voted against it. They've got to go. If you're conservative, if you're Republican and you want to get rid of Obamacare, these guys need to go. And in Arizona, under Obamacare, your health care rates went up astronomical this year, and they went up astronomical last year, and they're going to go up again next year. That's all thanks to McCain and Flake. Now, what's coming down the road? I don't know, but here's what I do know. We got to get rid of Obamacare. I don't really care about replacing it, but we got to get rid of it. We survived 200 years. We built the best medical facilities on the planet, in the world, in the history of the world, in the United States, and we did it based on capitalism, not based on Obamacare and socialism. It's got to go. And those that stand in the way have got to go. Heller, Flake, McMasters, and McCain have got to go. And I hope and I pray that the Tea Party is spending some time, effort, energy, and money on making that happen. In this article, Heller says, I am a conservative Republican who supports the policies of President Trump to repeal Obamacare and end illegal immigration, says Mr. Tarkanian, that's who we need to vote for, Mr. Tarkanian, who has unsuccessfully run for office in Nevada multiple times, most recently in 2016 when he lost a House race. See, the press is trying to paint him out to be a loser. He lost because everybody in Arizona believed, and McCain won election promising to get rid of Obamacare, and he lied. And this guy did too. This Mr. Tarkanian lost because they believed he was conservative, but they believed that the other guy was too. He lied. A primary challenge complicates the political outlook for Mr. Heller, whose seat is seen as one of the Democrats' best prospects for a pickup in 2018. He won the seat in 2012, beating Democrat Shelley Berkeley by 46 to 45%. He is the only Senate Republican up for re-election next year in a state that was won by Democrat Hillary Clinton in 2016. Well, if their analysis is correct, we're going to lose it anyway, right? So we need to get our best Tea Party person in that position. So all of you that live in Nevada, we need to get rid of Heller. You need to make that happen. And we need to vote for Mr. Tarkanian. He is a conservative Republican, and he will get rid of Obamacare. That's another article about McMaster's. He does have to go. Here's an article about the states vie to host auto factory. Now, this is another interesting. Now, these companies coming to the United States, these are because of Trump. And we need to not forget that. Remember the one that I talked about earlier about from Taiwan going to Wisconsin? Well, here's one where Toyota and Mazda have gotten together and they've decided that they're going to build a factory worth $1.6 billion somewhere here in the US. They just don't know where. Here's a list of the states that are still in the running: Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Illinois, Michigan, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Texas. Now, I can whittle that list down a little bit for you. Illinois will no longer be in the running. As I said earlier, the legislature is run by Democrats. They will never, ever, ever give the incentives for a company to come here to Illinois. All they'll do is raise taxes and run them out, just like they just about did with Caterpillar, but what they have done with a multitude of other companies of the state. So you can take Illinois off of that list. It's interesting when you look at the list, just about every state on that list is Republican except for Illinois. Now let's go through that list again. Alabama, Republican. Florida, Republican. Kentucky, Republican. Illinois, Democrat. They're out of the running. Indiana, Republican. Iowa, I think that one's kind of a toss-up. Michigan, Republican. Mississippi, Republican. North Carolina, Republican. South Carolina, and Texas, Republican. All of the states they want to go to is Republican except Illinois. And Illinois is not going to do what they want. That's not a mistake. Did you notice that California is not on that list? New York is not on that list. Washington State is not on that list. Oregon is not on that list. Nevada is not on that list. Vermont is not on that list. Rhode Island is not on that list. Maine is not on that list. Washington is DC is not on that list. Maryland is not on. You know why? Because those states are all liberal Democrats. And these companies know that if they go there, what's going to happen is they're going to end up raising their taxes. I say it over and over and over and over. If you want to build business, you want to attract business, you have to cut taxes. When you cut taxes, the incentive is there and the income increases. It doesn't decrease. And these stupid Democrats don't get the message. Over the years, state and local governments have provided foreign automakers a wide range of tax breaks, free land, infrastructure, training programs, and other inducements that can be worth hundreds of millions of dollars. That sounds like we're giving away the store, doesn't it? But hundreds of millions of dollars to a $1.5 billion company that employs 3,000 people, that has an annual payroll of $900 million is nothing. Nothing. If you're smart, any states that are in the running, give them the incentives. And it's easy to protect yourself as a state. Just tell them if they leave before the 10 or 15-year period, then they owe it all back, just like you do with accelerated depreciation. If you buy a property and you accelerate the depreciation, when you sell that property before a certain period, you have to pay that accelerated depreciation back. That's all you have to do. That's not brain surgery. Well, there was a couple other things I wanted to do, but my voice is running out on me. This is our second program, and we called it August 13th, 2017. And I hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, please share the program and like us and subscribe to us here on YouTube. And hopefully we'll learn how to do this better. We'll learn how to do it right. And we'll continue to share the outlook of this week in politics. Thank you.